next all-new episode of Made in Abyss.
No way, isn't this? Yeah, this is a section from Mother's letter.
You must not touch that which has value without permission.
Machikaja, I want that piece of paper!
Stealing value is the gravest of crimes.
Made in Abyss, next Saturday at 12:30. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Toonami Therapy. Today on November 4th of 2022. As always, I am Michael.
I'm Tommy.
Yes, we have not changed our names since the last time. So yeah, there was no Toonami last week. They just showed some rerun stuff. So we decided that, well, since they're going to show Made in Abyss Season 2, and everyone kept saying, oh, you really need to see this movie, or read a synopsis of the movie. Either one is fine. The point is you need to know what happens in it in order to understand the next season. So we did watch it. Mm-hmm. We'll be talking about it at the end of the anime discussion stuff, though, because first we've got some of the stuff that's not on Toonami that we've been watching. So I guess we'll just go through those then.
Yeah, could you remind me of what the schedule is for this next week?
If I remember correct, I'll double check on that. But you mean for the
Toonami.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
I remember correctly, they have My Hero Academia reruns first. Although apparently, well, I'll get to that in a sec. So we've gotten that, which is where Housing Complex C aired. Then they, was it Made in Abyss that they had after it, or was it Yashahime? Let me just, I'm pulling it up right now to check. Alright, so we have... Oh wait, I'm still not looking at the... I should have found a quicker way to find at this... Oh wait, that's weird. Why is this... Okay, screw it. This site I'm trying to look at is being wonky. Let me check another one quick.
Why don't you just check that email I sent you?
Oh no, I was at that was one of I was going to check a place where I know it was posted. Originally I was trying to check the TV guide. Here we go. Yeah, we got it right here. I did it's okay, I apologize everyone for the slowness of that stuff. So, we've got the My Hero Academia rerun, then Made in Abyss, then Yashahime, then one episode of One Piece. And then after that, there's Naruto Shippuden and Primal reruns. And then after that, because we've got Daylight Savings Time, they've got 2 more episodes of Primal. So
does it always have to be named Gendi's Travaxis Primal? That's
literally on the little image that Toonami posted.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah, it says Gendy Tartakovsky's Primal. They always do that. They can't just say Primal. It's Gendy Tartakovsky's Primal.
Okay.
So that's what we've got. A little surprised that they put... I guess it's pretty late in either case, but it's a little surprising they put Made in Abyss at the earlier one than Yashahime, considering one is presumably much more, I guess, mature than the other. Well, I mean, outside of, a bunch of the genitalia jokes it makes, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So that's the schedule, yes. And what I was going to say about My Hero Academia is apparently they're not starting at the beginning. So Season 6 is the new one that's airing now. This is Season 5, but apparently it's near the end of Season 5. So we've only got so there will be only a few episodes before it runs out. So there's been some speculation. Maybe it'll be going into season 6, but if that's the case, it's a little weird they didn't just announce that ahead of time, saying we'll show a few reruns, then get season 6. So maybe the fact they're doing it like that indicates they have something planned, but they just haven't said what it is yet. So who knows? It could be. Well, I'm not even going to speculate.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So now, now that we've gotten rid of that rant, us getting off top. Well, I guess it's on topic, but mostly me trying to find something and messing it up. So we've got episode 11 of Licorice Recoil. So we've got so yeah, so I can't remember some of these people's names, but basically Majima the bad guy sets it up so that he's able to get security cameras of various Licorice people going around and making it look like they killed a bunch of people, which they actually didn't. And now he's announcing, hey, this is what's actually going on. It's all the people wearing these uniforms, because actually they've got kind of a it does seem kind of dumb to have them all wear those uniforms everywhere. You'd think they would I guess it's a way to recognize each other, but even when you're not on missions, why are you doing that? Because that causes, one who's just randomly around there to get noticed by everyone. So they do that. Then, so Chisato ends up going over to find Majima because he had, was it Yoshimatsu? That was his name? Yeah. But then he gets apparently killed, I think. Anyway, so Chisato and Majima fight, but he turns off the lights because, well, her superpower abilities don't work in the dark, but he can hear. But then, Takina shows up at the end. Also, there is some other stuff we saw with the other characters, including Walnut, because, well, they weren't actually completely written out yet. And that is, as usual, my very jumbled, not great description.
Yeah, so Chisato has this super ability to be able to dodge bullets, which seems a little extreme, how would you be able to hurt her if she's able to have those type of reflexes, and I guess he tried to do that by turning the lights off, but Takina showed up to save her, which wasn't very surprising. So how many episodes are left?
2.
2? Okay, that's good. Yeah, I thought it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was. I definitely. I don't know. I'll be honest. For some of the series, I got kind of confused and was unclear about. Okay, so we got the bad guys, but what are the bad guys? How do these all fit together? But I'm getting it now at least, because he's just I just want to expose them to everyone, which it seems he's managed to do to some extent. So we'll see where.
What?
Oh, I thought you started to say something. Oh yeah, the other comment I had is Walnut's oversized shirt where it's just covering up her hands. That reminds me of, did you ever watch Codename Kids Next Door, the cartoon?
No.
Oh, it was actually pretty fun. But one of the characters had always wore her shirts like that, so where it was just covering her hands, and yeah, that was a fun show. That's actually on Boomerang, and I rewatched a little of. And I'm yeah, this show, it kind of it still holds up. I just, I like the fact there was even some continuity in episodes, although that didn't really start till the end of the first season. But yeah, it was a fun show. Anyway, but that was my comment on Licorice Recoil.
Yeah, I was thinking of at a con doing a costume of Majima. I think that would be a pretty cool costume to do.
Okay. So, then we'll move on to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean episodes 5 and 6. So, let's see. So they seem like they got out of the thing, except and Jolene saying, "Hey, you should use Star Platinum," and Jotaro's saying, "Wait a minute, how do you know the name of my stand? I never told you. This must be a dream." Except in the dream, she learned like the name of the stand. So, I mean, he's right. It does turn out to be another dream, but I don't know. Maybe the implication we're supposed to just assume is, well, he reached the right conclusion, but with bad reasoning. Anyway, they managed to get out. Jotaro's basically saying, "Okay, we're going to escape." They end up still having to fight the bad guy and another bad guy, because there's two stands they're dealing with. The other of which, not the one from, what was his name? John Galley or
John Gallier.
John Gallier, right? That was it. And well, his name doesn't matter because he dies. So it's always a useful thing. When a character dies, you don't have to remember their name. Anyway, he manages to apparently steal Jotaro's stand through his own ability, and maybe something else, like maybe some kind of life force from him. So Jolene manages to get out with him, but then decides but then because Jotaro apparently is dead, even though he only suffered a bullet wound. The series almost says that. It's just like, but it didn't hit like any vital organs. Well, one, bullets can totally kill you without doing that. But this is JoJo, so if it doesn't hit a vital organ, it pretty much does mean you're totally fine. So then she actually decides that since the bad guy, whoever it was, wasn't leaving the prison, it must mean there's something they need there, and she wants to get back what it took from Jotaro, so she, I assume, just leaves his body somewhere and goes back in, and then gets captured, and then John Gallier gets killed off by the real bad guy, who we don't know yet. I inadvertently kind of spoiled myself on it, but it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, there's that. I don't know who that character is, so hopefully I'll forget by the time they're actually introduced if it's supposed to be a spoiler. Yeah, so that was the first episode. Did you want to discuss, since the two episodes were kind of pretty distinct, do you want to talk about that one first and then move on to the other?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I found this to be extremely confusing, and I don't know. This episode got me back into where I was during part 5, where everything was so confusing, trying to keep up with all these different stands, and I don't know. I wasn't able to keep up with it. It's getting too convoluted. At the beginning of this season, everything was straightforward and it was very simple. But now we're like coming up with all these new stands and all these new abilities and stuff, and I'm just wondering, how are they going to make it so that I can understand what the actual plot is? Because right now, I don't know what the plot even is.
Well, from what I could understand, okay, so there's two bad guys, one of which is John Gallier. John Gallier's stand was, well, he's dead, so it doesn't matter, but Basically, it let him like fire. It reflected bullets for him, so he could shoot people. And the other one, its abilities are less clear. It seems to have had that dream ability thing, and it also is able to take things like stand abilities and maybe memories and things from someone by extracting them as CD-ROMs, which kind of dates the series.
Mm-hmm.
This originally did come out like in 2000 to 2003, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that, and that guy still is around, and he seemed to have gotten Jotaro's like stand power, but it was a little unclear about whether he like was able to absorb it or not. If he has it, I don't know how you can beat him, considering Time Stop is like really good. But yeah, so, but we don't know what he's really after. So that's something that, I mean, that's supposed to be the mystery.
Well, is Jolene out of jail or not?
No, she's not.
Okay, because I was really confused about that in this episode.
Okay, so then we move on to the next episode, which was about Hermes, who's other woman that I think we met in the first episode or two. Anyway, she got a stand also, which is about stickers. I mean, last season we had a guy whose stand power was the ability to punch things and make zippers appear, so which apparently gives her the power to, when she hits something with the sticker, it duplicates, and when she takes the sticker away, it replaces the duplicate disappears. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of crazy ways that ability is going to get used over the course of the series. Like you saw how much the zippers got used for.
Yeah.
So basically she has that and gets out of the infirmary because she got hurt earlier and has been gone until now. Ends up basically one of the other prisoners, like this janitor one guy, gets a victim of that stand that apparently takes away his memories of where he put money or something, but she does find the CD-ROM. Anyway, the janitor guy is apparently, so he apparently got a stand somehow, except his stand is apparently that whenever he suffers damage, it hits her, which is bad because he's pretty suicidal, so she keeps having to stop him from doing that, and then manages to so basically the episode is her trying to deal with that. Ultimately manages to get I can't remember exactly how she does it, but she manages to get like this disc thing from him that removes his stand ability, so he's no longer a danger to her. And yeah, that's our episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole thing about stand users being drawn to each other, which they're like, no one knows why. So
that plot point was introduced in part 4, and they have gotten so much mileage out of that as an explanation.
Yeah.
Why do they keep meeting each other? Well, they're just attracted to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, any thoughts on this episode?
I thought it was a little better than the one before.
I think I liked the first one a little more than this one. This one, it was okay, but I didn't think it was quite as interesting as the other ones. The guy's ability was just kind of like, oh, if you take damage, it'll hurt you, which that was actually that was Hiden's power from Naruto, but he had the advantage that he was basically immortal. So so that was his whole like thing. Hey, I'll make it so my damage goes to you, and then I'll hurt myself, and you'll die. Anyway, yeah, we got that. It was kind of weird to have this episode about, a guy being like suicidal like that.
Yeah, that was a little disturbing.
I was like thinking that she was originally just going to like give him back the CD that had the memories of where he put his money, and that would like make him totally fine. But they went a different way instead, I guess.
Mhm.
And yeah, she got so Hermes' stand is named Smack. Well, originally it was named Kiss, but you gotta change everything, so it's Smack. Okay, and yeah, that was JoJo. Guess we can go to Spy Family, episode 14. So, the bad guy manages to get away with one of the dogs still, and is planning to execute his plan. Anya finds out though that through I shouldn't. Screw it. I shouldn't say. I don't know. Do you want me to tell you the name of the like main dog character? They haven't given it to him yet.
No, I'll wait to find out.
Okay, so Anya reads his mind, and because he can see the future, of course, and finds out that Lloyd gets killed through a bomb. So they have to go to try to stop to prevent that by going to the place that the bad guy's place, which they rigged with a bomb, which she doesn't have any idea how to disarm. So she tries to she uses ketchup to try to put a warning thing, except it's really bad and almost doesn't work when Lloyd and the other guy sees it. Mm-hmm. But it does manage to still stop them. So they get saved. So Lloyd's saved from that bomb at least. Meanwhile, he has to go. The bad guy is still using the dog because he has that plan to, I don't know, yeah, it was like to have it carry the bomb to the government guy. I can't remember his exact position. So then through convoluted stuff, Lloyd pretends to be that guy to draw to him. There's some chase stuff, and then at the end, it looks like Lloyd is going to have to shoot the dog to not the future seeing one, the other dog, to stop it, and which is, I guess, the cliffhanger. That dog would totally die in JoJo.
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode, especially the part about Anya using ketchup to put that warning on the door, and them figuring it out. That was a pretty. I thought that was a pretty interesting twist there, and then Lloyd figured it out. Or what's his real name? Is his real name Twilight or Lloyd?
So the name he's going by in the series is Lloyd. We don't know his like real name, but his code name is Twilight.
Okay.
We do not know like his original name. There's later on in the manga, there's even a flashback thing like to when he was younger, and we still don't find out his actual name. Yeah. One thing I will say, well, I mean, maybe the dog can't see the future that perfectly, but I was just thinking, Anya could actually, if it was able to see it like better, depending on how well it could have seen it, if she can read its mind, she could have disarmed the bomb just by having it see the futures that caused the bomb to explode, and therefore cutting the wires that don't cause that. Mm-hmm. Which, there's this book series I read, Alex Verus, Verus. It was a kind of fun urban fantasy series. It's about this guy, who can see the future, and it was interesting some of the ways he would use it. Like you can he could figure out passwords just by looking into the future to see which password would actually get him into like a computer.
Mhm.
Like which future that was, and then just use that password. Some of that stuff was kind of, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there were some funny bits here with Anya, like where she doesn't know how to tell time. Her kind of bad way of warning. I was thinking you could have just written bomb or something instead of no and the attempt at a bomb that looks like a pineapple. But I mean, she's 6 or whatever. Speaking of which, I've mentioned that I kind of like her sort of child way of talking. Unfortunately, it does make it sometimes hard to actually understand what she's saying.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the same thing, actually.
So yeah, this was another fun episode. Okay, I guess we can give before we talking about the Made in Abyss movie, I guess we can give a top 3. There were
Well,
3 shows that we watched, though.
well, I was going to include Tale or Made in Abyss as
Oh, the movie?
part. As part of the top 3.
Oh,
So,
I didn't even think of how I might want to put that in there. Well, I guess we'll get to that later. I guess we can talk about the movie. So,
Yeah.
we're obviously going to be giving some spoiler stuff for this. But well, I mean, I guess that was kind of a given. I guess if someone, but we're not going to like. If you aren't able to watch the movie but you want to know what happens between seasons, you should just there's a description of the plot, like, you know, on the list, on the episodes, the Wikipedia list of episodes for Made in Abyss. They've got like an entry for the movie. The Made in Abyss wiki has like a lengthier thing on everything that happens in the movie. Just read one of those. But if you really want the quick one, this is the important stuff that happens. Let's see. We find out that Rico's mother's white whistle, which is necessary to get to some place, wouldn't work for her because it has to be coding to her. But that's fine because she gets a white whistle anyway. A bunch of some stuff with that brown dread or what, the guy who was we saw at the end of the previous season in Nanachi's flashback as kind of being the one who was doing the experiments on kids that caused Nanachi to turn into the furry thing. And he shows up and gets kind of defeated. He's at least not a threat more. So they end up with a kind of cute little new pet character mascot, and some really traumatic stuff happens to them. So, so I guess maybe that'll inform things going onward for any future trauma. Because from everything I heard, the trauma is going to keep going. That's basically all the really important stuff that happened. That's like the stuff I think you would probably need to know. Now, I haven't seen season 2, so maybe there's stuff in the movie that I left out that's important, but I think that's all the important stuff that happens in this. So, yeah. Okay.
do you want me to give my opinion on it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually liked it. I mean, I was never big on Made in Abyss. Like, the whole season, and I looked at my top 3 thing, and it made second place one time. Never was higher than third. So I'm like, I didn't remember liking it this much, but this movie was actually very entertaining. And aside from a few things that I wish I would have never had to see, but I thought it was a pretty good movie, and I thought it did give some good character development, especially of Nanachi, who kind of just showed up at the very end and wasn't really, a main character until near the end. So I like Nanachi mainly because it's a furry, and it's voiced by the same person who voiced Rimuru from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, and the voices kind of sound familiar. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I also do think that despite some definite issues, I feel it was an improvement over the first season, because the first. So actually, I should say something quick. I don't even know if I said the title. This is Made in Abyss: Dawn of the Deep Soul. This is the one that takes place between the seasons. The other two movies are actually just compilation stuff of the first two seasons of the first season. So, I meant to look at them. I don't know if it's literally just taking clips from those seasons and putting them together, or if it's new animation. I think it's just clips, and stuff. I know it's not. I mean, it's not like just a recap. I mean, it is a recap, but it's not like, oh, this happened and this happened. They like take the stuff and put it together. In that, and there is some editing stuff also in those, so some things are like trimmed or cut, and considering that the perpetually big complaint we had about the first season was the pacing, especially early on, it makes me think that maybe if you want to know what happens in the first season, watching the movies might be better, because it like I said, I haven't seen these. The pacing, maybe they cut out like stuff that was important and all the boring stuff was still there. But at least sounds, based on what I was looking at, it seems like that might be a better paced one than the TV version was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back onto this episode. But yeah, like, stuff happened. I wonder also if maybe it helped that it was in movie form, because if this had been in a TV show, if we were watching, if this was divided up into, how long was this movie? This would have been around, this would have been like maybe 5-6 episodes.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
It probably would have been better. Seeing it all in once like this seems like it might have worked, better. It's a little. I kept seeing all these people saying, "Oh man, this it's really like dark and traumatizing." And honestly, I don't know if this says something bad about me, but for the most part, I was just kind of like, "Oh yeah, okay." This wasn't nearly as bad as people made it sound. I was much more disturbed by the amount of focus the movie was making in continually referencing Reg's like I said, genitalia. There's like multiple stuff, like it gets referred to multiple times when they talk about how it gets bigger sometimes. Yeah. There's the part where he's being held captive and they're taking urine samples, and they make sure, you don't see it because it's covered by like the tube, but still, that was very, I was thinking, man, you didn't need to have that. I kind of wonder sometimes with this series how much more weird some of that stuff might have been in the manga, because I know in at least some places the TV series like toned down on things. So, and I don't know if the movie did that also or not. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff I was talking about, that was like in the first season also. I was looking at some, like, checking on some stuff, and I was seeing people saying, oh yeah, they were doing that sort of weird thing even at the end of with Reg at the end of the first season, which I completely forgot about. But honestly, a lot of that season was kind of a blur in the end for me. So yeah, that was that. But for the other stuff, but yeah, I guess I could see someone maybe getting some stuff squeamish. There are some scenes, especially, that were kind of, I don't know what the right word for it is. I keep like saying traumatizing, but I'm not sure exactly. I don't want, like, gruesome, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some other like things I could talk I could maybe be a little more critical of. It seemed weird that I was confused about why. What was his? I need to double check. They said it so many times, and I still can't remember it. Like Brown something like that. Oh, Bondrude. I can't even. I can see how it's written, and I can't remember how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Was it Bondreed? Bondrew? Do you remember?
Drude, I thought.
Okay.
That's what I thought, but I might be wrong.
Okay, Bondrude. So we find out, that he's been basically taking kids and essentially, like dismembering them and stuff because it makes specimens that he's able to use to survive the curse of the abyss. You know that thing that hits you whenever you try to ascend. And then he does it, of course, to his kind of semi-adopted daughter, who and it's weird that he does that because it kept making it seem like he was even if he was a bad guy, he was at least trying to foster love for him for something. And the implication I thought was that he was planning to and he was saying some stuff about how that might have been what caused Nanashi to not be killed but turn out the way they did and getting all furry. I thought he was thinking that if he did that, then he could do the same thing to his another Prushka. Yeah, that to her, and then that would affect her. But then it's no, I guess he just did all that stuff and then just chopped her up like the other kids. So it kind of was confusing as to what he was actually trying to do with her then. And yeah, there's some other stuff. I don't want to be doing too much complaining about something that honestly was, again, some of the weird sort of fetish stuff aside, which really just feels so distracting in the show. It's like when Game of Thrones, where you would have this complicated plot with all these characters and political stuff, and then every episode they would make sure to just stop everything for a few minutes so they can get some nudity stuff in. I remember one of the directors for an episode, he said literally he was told by a producer that he should be doing more of that in the episode, and said it was a very surreal experience. So yeah, I could have done without some of that stuff in Made in Abyss. But yeah, other than that, for my criticisms, stuff happened. There was much better of a plot. The pacing was better. This was definitely, I kind of went into this thinking, well, I'm not that into the series, but if they're showing another season, I might as well watch this. And at the end, I was like, okay, I've still got some problems with this series, but but at least I am more interested in seeing what happens in the next season.
Yeah, I agree too that this is maybe actually interested in season 2. So I thought it was a good choice you had to have us watch it.
Yeah, although it is for people who didn't. It is always annoying when they do a separate movie because I'm sure in Japan it's easier, but in the U.S. it's kind of a more separate thing. At least with Demon Slayer, they did the thing where they took the movie and then they chopped it up into several episodes. Or in the case of Dragon Ball Super, they took the movies, they adapted them and put in a crazy ton of extra padding. Yeah.
Yeah. How long were those? How many episodes did it take to get 7 episodes for one of the movies or something?
From what I recall, because I did some calculations, I might be a little wrong, but I seem to remember that for the movies, effectively what they would do on average was they would adapt 5 minutes of a movie into a full episode.
Wow.
Yeah, let me just take a quick look so I can get the numbers on it. All right, so the first arc on Dragon Ball Super was based on the Battle of the Gods movie. That one lasted, let's see, I think the first yeah, I can't, let's see, that was about 8. It listed as 18 episodes, but if I remember correctly, the last few of those like weren't really stuffing the movie. It was just kind of like more filler in between the arcs episodes. So I think that was more like 16. So that was about 16 episodes. The movie, the expanded special edition, was 105 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So they took 105 minutes and made it into about 16 episodes.
Wow, that's impressive.
And with Resurrection F, that was 9 episodes in the TV show, and that movie was 94 minutes. So that one I think might have been a little better, but still, they still like were going. They still obviously were doing a bunch of extra padding to make it to reach that amount. This is why I've said it before, and I guess I'll say it again. If you want to get into Dragon Ball Super, just watch the 2 movies and then go into the stuff that takes place after them, because you're just gonna, because if you watch the movies instead of the show, it just means you'll be getting a better paced experience.
Yeah, you've said this before, and I thought it made a lot of sense. So, yeah, just watch the movies, skip the 2 seasons or whatever it was.
It's the first 27 episodes. I think, if I remember correctly, episodes 7. You might want to see episodes 17 and 18. I think have some relevance. But no, I was a little wrong. It was episodes 1 to 14 that were the first movie, not 16. There were more episodes between. Just, I don't know. If you really need to know, you can look it up some place, I'm sure. But that would be the suggestion, to watch the movies instead of the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's Made in Abyss, and we'll have season 2 coming to us for next week. We'll be going right into it. We'll see if it's as emotionally traumatizing as a lot of people made it sound. Although, then again, I saw, again, for this movie, and for that matter, the end of the previous season, I saw all these people saying, "Oh man, it was so traumatizing to me," and I was just like, I don't know. I just kind of thought it was just. I mean, maybe it was because I was just kind of bored by the series, so that by the time that stuff happened, I wasn't so interested. But yeah. So yeah, we'll see what it how it goes, and yeah, I think I talked a lot more about that than I was expecting to.
Okay, top 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so for 3rd place this week, I'm giving it to Licorice Recoil. 2nd place this week will be Spy Family, and I have to give Made in Abyss the number 1 spot. I know it's kind of unfair because it had a whole movie as opposed to everything else, but I make my own rules on the top 3 things, so Made in Abyss it is.
Okay, so for me, I would order them a little differently. I would put Made in Abyss in 3rd, JoJo 2nd, and Spy Family 1st. And if someone wants to say, well, you shouldn't count the Made in Abyss movie, well, I mean, you can do the math and figure out what would swap for it in third place.
Yeah.
Okay. So we now have, that's all our anime stuff, unless there's something else to talk about.
No, no, just Amazing Race.
Okay, so we'll just move on to that then. All right, so we've got what was this, like episode 7 or something? Yeah, so we had this episode, the same team, let's see, the team that got last place in the previous one got last place here again.
Yeah, it was very anticlimactic. They got into a car wreck, and once that happened, we were like, okay, they're just gonna edit it to make it look a little closer than it actually is, but we knew they were out of it once that happened. And I thought I really liked the medieval games detour because all that stuff is Survivor stuff. So they do that in like every episode of Survivor. Have to land sandbags on a target or have to maneuver a ball through a very tight thing. They do that every episode on Survivor, something like that. So I really enjoyed watching the medieval games. It wasn't as fun watching people screw a little, what was it, a walnut?
Yeah.
Into the, yeah. So that wasn't that fun to watch. The medieval games were more fun to watch.
I found it was interesting because when one team tried them and they decided, oh, this is too hard and quit, and then the other team, and well, only 2 teams I think did it. One was, of course, the last place team, so we just saw a quick montage of them doing it. And the other team that did do it, they suggested, and they kind of had a point there, that if you just go in the first one, you're all going to probably take about the same amount of time. So going with this one may be a little more of a gamble, but could work. So
yeah,
I can't remember. Did they actually move up like as a result of that? Because they mentioned something about, and that's how you skip past other teams. But then they only get like third place. But then I think they also got into some navigation difficulties. I was just curious how much, if at all, they did benefit from taking the other detour. And it was harder to tell because then they ran into other issues afterwards.
Yeah, it was harder to tell, and one of the things I haven't liked about this season is that there's like way too much of people getting lost and not knowing where they're going. And I kind of prefer the challenges more because the challenges can be very funny. They can be, very fun to watch. But watching someone trying to read a map, I mean, that's just not that interesting. So, I don't know why it seems there's so much more of that going on this season. It doesn't really seem to have anything to do with COVID. So, I'm not sure, but that's kind of the route they've decided to go in editing this season. So there we are.
I've also noticed this season they've had a lot of memorization challenges.
Yeah,
there was a one where they had to listen to the doctor give the give the lecture about the body parts, and then they had to fill them in and stuff. Was that one a detour or a road? Yeah, that was a detour, right? That was a choice. And then there was the one with the Arabic alphabet, And then there's this one now also. So that's like 3 already this season where that we're just relying on you memorizing something. And that seemed more than in previous seasons, which, would usually have some, but not quite like to this extent, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's see. And yeah, a bunch of teams did seem to be having trouble navigating around, so I don't know, maybe are like French roads more confusing? Or maybe what are like the rules for being able I assume because they're always looking at maps, so I assume they aren't using they can't use GPS or anything.
Yeah, I assume that too.
Maybe people are just more used to GPSs because like I'll be honest, I if you gave me a map, I would have a lot of trouble reading it. I just take my GPS and that tells me where to go.
Oh, I'm the worst person in the world with directions. I mean, you can give me the simplest set of instructions of where to drive, and I guarantee I'll get lost. I get lost all the time, and I'm not very good. Even with GPS, I'm not very good. So if I don't have someone helping me out, then I'm almost guaranteed to get lost.
Well, I just remember when I was younger, whenever our our parents like went someplace, one would always have a map and stuff, and would be looking at things. And no, we don't ever. And then later on, I remember we would use like MapQuest or whatever, and which would give you directions, and you'd print those out so you could look at the stuff. And now it's just straight simple GPS.
Yeah.
That like will just give you automatically, so that when you miss your turn, which I often do, it'll like recalculate and say, okay, you need to do this now. I wonder what the next step in travel conveniences will be. I mean, I wonder, will we get self-driving cars for real sometime? That's what everyone always talks about. Well, I guess we'll see in a decade or so. It's weird in that it seems like technology has both. It seems like it's both made really big strides, but at the same time, when I think about what things are like, 10 years ago, I'm like, I don't know, things didn't seem that different, even though there were a bunch of big things. So it kind of feels like a weird sort of, yeah, there's all this stuff, but at the same time, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like, yeah, it's more like a convenience. I mean, you think about how your cell phone is more advanced than the computer we had like 20 years ago.
Or how the computer that got people to the moon is like 1,000 times less powerful than an iPhone.
Yeah. I'm just like thinking, even just now, when you look at some of the basic games from back, and you realize, again, your phone is capable of more complex stuff. Now, to be fair, a lot of times it's because the games you'll download on the phone are constantly doing internet access and are, moving stuff back and forth that which your old computer couldn't necessarily do because internet was nowhere near as good then. And that would be back then, of course, when you couldn't use a phone while you were on the internet. Oh man, I like just wonder sometimes, what exactly is it like to be a kid growing up nowadays? Yeah, well,
going through the last 2.5 years, yeah, that would have ruined my childhood. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy that I wasn't born around this time, because all those restrictions and stuff, it was just ridiculous.
I will say that if there was any time in my life for coronavirus to hit, it happened up until that point. It wasn't a good time for me, obviously. Well, I mean, it wasn't really a good time for anyone, but it was probably the best point in my life up until that point for it to actually happen. Because like the job I have now is like it requires a lot less direct contact with people than the ones I had before it did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was just thinking more in regards to like technology and stuff. Like when I was in, I like remember when like the computers were sort of a new thing in school, and this was, I don't know what we actually had some games on them. One of them was the Incredible Machine. Well, technically, I think it was the Even More Incredible Machine. And it's weird because that game had back then like copy protection in that the instruction, what would happen every time you would start playing it and you got to the title screen, it would say, okay, look on this page of the instruction booklet for like the code, and you would have to put in the code for that and then you could play. But of course, no one had them at the school. But well, I think this was actually me who did it because I did have a copy of the game and had that. And we figured out that there's a little opening animation thing. And what code it asked you for depends on when you like click to bypass it. So if you wait until the right point and then went to the title screen, it would always ask you for the same code and you just had to remember that. By the way, the Incredible Machine was a great game. You can, I think it's possible to buy them, although it might not. I don't know how well it would work on newer computers on good old games. The guy who made it later made something called a more recent one called Contraption Maker, and that's on there. I think it's only on Steam, but that's a good game, and I would recommend that. Contraption Maker. Yeah. So well, that was our requisite tangent, I guess. Okay, anything else to say about The Amazing Race?
Nope, that's about it.
Okay, well, that has been our podcast then. Wow, we ended up talking quite a bit considering we didn't have any Toonami stuff to cover, but I guess we did have a movie to talk about and tangents to go off on. And I guess that would be it then. So we'll see you next week for, we'll have some Yashahime to be talking about in One Piece, and, oh boy, one episode of One Piece instead of two. It'll be like watching half an episode. But Made in Abyss and our other shows, and, yeah, we'll see you for all of that, next week.
Bye.
Hello everyone, welcome to Toonami Therapy on November 11th, 2022. I'm Michael.
I'm Tommy.
We're here as usual to talk about all sorts of exciting things like anime and some non-anime stuff. Just to let you know, we still don't know what's going to be replacing My Hero Academia because they started late in the season, like I noted. Like there's, I think, 2 episodes left, so so they have to replace it with something, or else they're going to loop back to the start of the season. But I have to imagine they had something in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll find out about that. Hopefully, we'll find it out soon. I wonder what the odds are for us finding out what its replacement is before or after we find out the final results of the current election. All right. So we'll start out with Toonami, including the Made in Abyss coming back. So we're on episode 14, and I bet everyone is all really excited to see what our main characters are getting into now. Well, you're going to have to wait through about 2/3 of the episode to see them again, because prior to that, it's just a bunch of new characters in what I think is some kind of flashback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that nothing horribly bad will happen to them. Those characters. Yeah, so we get a bunch of that. Then we come to the main characters, and then they just go down, reach the 6th layer, and then I guess I don't know exactly what happened. A bunch of stuff was falling on them, so I don't know if that was some sort of attack or if it was some sort of weather or whatever. But that was all we really got. All we really saw of them was they were in the thing that's going downward. We spent a surprising amount of time on the question of Rico having to go to the bathroom, and then they got out and that stuff happened.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to see the main characters until the episode was almost over, and kind of makes me worried that they're not going to be featured as much this season, and there'll be other characters. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I wonder if this is going to be, at least for a while, whether we'll be just switching between the flashback stuff of these other characters and then the stuff to main characters until they eventually kind of meet with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't have too much else to say about it. I mean, I guess I could talk a little about the stuff we saw with the other characters, but that was kind of a blur, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And, then we, I guess, can move on to Yashahime, episode 37. So, they managed to, let's see. So basically, Toa got all super angry and is trying to kill Zero, but they don't want her to do that, because if that happens, then Rin dies, but they stop her, and then they sever the thread of fate or something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zero dies, and of course, because she dies, we get a big flashback.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that. Finally, Moraha is because she got like the thing, the little that her parents were imprisoning. She's like, "Oh, I can rescue them. I can visit them or maybe rescue them." But then Kirin Maru just pops up and goes, "Psych! I got it now."
Mm-hmm.
And yep.
Yeah, that I actually thought it was a pretty good episode. I'm looking forward to finally seeing if we can finally see Inuyasha and Kagome again. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really have too much else, because this episode kind of felt like, because I wasn't that interested in the stuff with Toa, so it just kind of felt like it was a check mark. It's like, okay, we have to deal with Zero, with Zero and the tie to Rin and all that stuff. Okay, it's resolved now. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Lastly, on terms of Toonami stuff, we've got one episode of One Piece, and actually, surprisingly, a decent amount seems like it happened. So basically, we see. Let me see. So yeah, Law and Luffy agree on an alliance thing. against one of the four emperors, who of course we don't know who it is because the screen goes all silent when Law says it. And people end up being their own bodies again.
Except for Nami.
Yeah. Then they basically, we get some stuff about the bad guy, Caesar Clown, and then the Marines are fighting against them. And yeah, that's the. Dang, there was more stuff that happened, but I'm not remembering what it was. I said all this stuff and I'm like, oh wait, I thought more happened in that. But I guess them just getting back to their own bodies and stuff was actually a big thing.
Yeah. Except for some reason Nami isn't. Why is that?
Didn't they say it's who was Nami swapped with, or it was because they didn't have the other body to swap with, if I remember correctly. But who was she swapped with again?
I thought it was Frankie.
I mean, she was in Frankie's body, but the swapping was a weird thing where it wasn't like a simple you swapped it. It's just kind of like they were all their hearts were taken out and then put into other bodies randomly, I think.
I see.
Now, I can't remember who exactly they needed offhand, but that was why that was the case for her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we're just speeding through because I just don't feel like I have too much to say about those things. Although I will note, I meant to say this at the start of the thing, but I forgot. We missed the launch of Sword Art Online. That happened last week, November 6th, 2022.
Oh wow, there's a new SAO now.
No. I meant in the series itself. That's when the game launched.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm kind of glad we missed that because I don't want to die if I die in the game. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Kind of like Evangelion. Whenever everyone was like, "Evangelion's set in the future," and then everyone was like, "Evangelion's now set in the past."
Yeah, that's the issue with when you decide to set specific things, like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yeah, and its sequel, 2010: Odyssey 2. We're still short of 2061 and 3001, though. It's those were novel only sequels, though. I read them, and I'm not sure I can remember a single thing that happened in them. They were kind of dull. 3001 seemed more like about just, hey, here's the world of 3001, kind of interesting, huh? Yeah, we didn't really have too much else of a plot that I remember. I think stuff happened, but I forgot. And I think they all take place in different continuities, too. Yeah, so that's the Toonami stuff. I guess we can move on to the other stuff. Yeah, so we got Lycoris Recoil, episode 12. So they managed to beat Majima, which seemed anticlimactic, but spoiler, he shows up at the end. Basically, was it the DA guy? I don't know if it was the head of the DA or the head of the DA, but they're like, well, Lycoris is known to the public, so we gotta just, I guess kill them all. But the heroes manage to make it so that that's not necessary, so the whole thing gets called off because they managed to trick everyone with an absolutely ironclad thing. They just say, "Oh, it was all just a joke." That's basically what they do. They go on TV and says, "Yep, this whole thing was just a wacky joke," even though I'm pretty sure actual people died in it. I feel like we saw that happen. At least one person, like around. So I don't know how they covered that up. But anyway, everything seems all good and stuff. But then Majima pops. Oh no, sorry, I skipped over some stuff. There was what was his name? The guy who changed Chisato's heart because he wants to make her kill. He's like, okay, well, the replacement heart is within me, so you have to kill me to get it out. And all that sort of kinds of stuff. And oh man, I'm feeling dummy that I can't remember exactly how that thing, that plot thing ended. Did they just like defeat him but not kill him?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just trying to think. I feel that was it, but did Taki not kill him? I don't think she did. But anyway, sorry, this is a problem when I watch stuff a while beforehand. I forget everything. But yeah, and then Majima shows up at the end. So, yep.
One episode to go, right?
Yep.
That should be pretty interesting then.
Yeah, it definitely did kind of feel like, oh, everything's wrapping up. Well, we have another episode, so I guess we'll do this. I am curious about what we're going to see with DA continuing to exist or not, because I don't know. It seemed like at the start, the opening of the first episode was like, ooh, they're a shadowy, sinister organization. But then it's like, oh no, they're actually the good guys. Except for the part where they tried to get all the Lily Bell to kill the Lycoris. But, that was just like the upper things, and they didn't do it. So, totally fine. I guess we'll see how it all ends.
Mm-hmm.
All right. After that, we've got JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean, episodes 7 and 8. So they have right. So two of the so they want to search for some of the inmates on the farm area, so they basically get some of, the other inmates to go search for them and kind of take them along there. We find and that includes Jolene and Hermes. They and of course it's all the work of an enemy stand, which kills the guard guy, some of the other girls that were there. We get a fight against them. We find out the stand in this case isn't really a person. It was just like a bunch of plankton or something. So the stand is the person. They managed to beat it, but then Jolene's like, oh no, they were just doing this because they thought they had to. So and like gets them to agree to help them. So I guess so they're a good guy now, I guess. And the fact that they basically killed like 7 people is just kind of forgotten. Because they weren't human, I guess, is the excuse they make. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do get the stand thing for Jotaro's stand, the disc back, but not like the memory stuff. And, yeah, that was our episodes. As usual, I always kind of skip through the mechanics of the stand battle, but...
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, the whole thing where they had to stay within 50 meters of the guard. And, like, they're all standing around talking, and he starts shouting off, like, we gotta get going. So then they're all have to chase him, and then he ends up getting killed, and they have to keep him around, or else they'll blow up. And they, yeah, I thought these were really good episodes. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because when I saw one of the prisoners when they got killed, the one with the green hair, I was like, oh, she's still alive. She's featured prominently in the theme song, and I'm like, oh no, she did die. It's just the FF, which is of course the obligatory trademark friendly version of the name, which originally was Foo Fighters, um,
Mhm.
because Foo Fighters just takes over her body. Then. I am just reminded of when there's this goofy video kind of spoofing JoJo I saw a while ago. It's called like, so this is basically JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I just remember the part where the person is saying, I wrote it down because it's just like, watch as they're joined by a series of weirdos who are introduced as complete sociopaths, but once they're defeated, they become friends and their personality completely changes. And I'm like, I guess that kind of happens here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, I guess they do try to say, oh, the prisoner who got killed, well, she was like crazy and kidnapped people, so I guess we don't have to feel bad uh Foo Fighters just taking over their body.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I didn't realize it was Foo Fighters. I was like, FF, what could that possibly be? So,
Oh, I just noticed. Okay, I don't know the specifics about it, but I happened to catch the title of the next episode. The nice thing about on like Wikipedia, they do, they'll list the original and alternate titles if there's a case, because that's the case when they have to change the name. The next, I assume this is the standard, maybe it's the name, but the next episode is called, in Japanese, Debt Collector Marilyn Manson. Now, the English title is Debt Collector Mary Lynn Manson. Marilyn to Mary Lynn. Okay. Honestly, the changes they make are just like so endearing. You can't even get like upset because they're just funny. My favorite is still like the Thankful Death.
what's
Okay.
that? What's that?
The Thankful Death. That was
Oh, the Grateful Dead.
yeah, he was in part 5. It was when they were on the train and he was turning people into zombies or something. That was one of the stands. Yeah. So yeah, these were fun episodes. Again, these sort of outside of, I guess, like the issue. Oh well, you killed like how many people here? 7. Some, but it's at least some of which seem kind of innocent of stuff, or maybe they weren't. I guess they were inmates, so maybe they did terrible things. But yeah, we got our third main character. At least if the theme song is any indication.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
Well, I like it's Jolene Hermes and Foo Fighters that are featured the most prominently. So like there's the stuff where you see the 3 of them together and they make a pose. So I assume she's like the third main character.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and all right. So we got JoJo,
Mm-hmm.
and then lastly we've got Spy Family episode 15. So the dog is coming at Lloyd with the bomb, and Lloyd uses his gun and points it at them. But because this is not JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, he doesn't shoot the dog. He just shoots the stuff off the dog so that the explosive goes into the water, and him and the dog are fine. The bad guy gets caught. The dog that Anya was hanging out with, Bond, ends up getting sort of adopted. And then the second episode is mostly just really cute Anya antics.
Second episode?
The second half of the episode.
Oh. Yeah. She gives it that name of the dog, and then actually it took a little while for her to name the dog, didn't it?
We got it midway through that last half. It gets named Bond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. The the only thing I'm nervous about is that it it the show doesn't seem to be having any like serious plot line that like even though they say okay, Twilight's trying to keep the peace between East and West, but like we don't see anything about that. We don't know what that even means. And it feels like, well, we got this silly stuff with Anya every episode. And is that all the show's going to be? Is just Anya getting in trouble and then Lloyd getting her out of trouble? I mean, I don't know. It's not stale, but I feel it could become stale if there isn't something more to it, you know?
Well, in fairness, last episode, Anya was the one who got Lloyd out of trouble. Well, no, last episode, Yor got Anya out of trouble, then Anya got Lloyd out of trouble.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I liked more the second part, because it's just Anya and Bond being cute, and it was very cute. The first, I mean, it wasn't bad. I just didn't think it was as good. I think the series is usually better when it goes for like fun comedy stuff. As even though you have to have some more serious stuff because it's part of the premise. I usually think like the more comedic Anya stuff is usually best. I always especially like the part where she's thinking, "Oh man, now that I have a dog, I can like make friends with Damien." So she just goes and goes, "I have a dog," and he's just like, "So."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm the opposite of you. I like this show more whenever it's trying to go with a serious plot and the funny stuff. It's okay, but I the reason I started to like it in the beginning was because I was like, okay, this is a cool concept. This guy has to create a fake family, and and everyone is pretending to, or everyone's trying to hide their identity. So I was like, okay, this is a pretty good dynamic here, and sometimes it just seems to get lost in all these sitcom moments, and I'm just not as big of a fan of them.
Okay. I don't think I really have too much else to say, so I guess that's our discussion of the anime stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess we can move on to ranking things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, third place is Yasuhime. Second place is Licorice Recoil. And for first place this week, I will go with JoJo.
It's, I think I would do that, except I'd swap out Spy Family for Yashahime.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, that's, I guess, our discussion of anime. I don't, because there's not too much else to really say there. All right, I guess then we've just got Amazing Race.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, and, so we had another memorization challenge. There's like, this is like the fourth this season. They really are doing it.
Yeah. I thought that bricks thing seemed a lot easier than memorizing those different things.
What was, trying to think about okay. Yeah, didn't, how many people picked each one? Because I feel like I just saw a bunch of the memorization thing, but I don't remember seeing much of, like, the brick ones.
I think only 2 of them picked the bricks.
Okay. But yeah, memorizing the French poem. I don't think anyone knew French, which actually would have been kind of funny if they had done that. Like the time where I'll always remember the time where the task was you were supposed to take orders in Chinese. This was like quite a while ago, but yeah, the customers would give you the order and you were supposed to be able to repeat it, go and tell them what it was. And what would you know? One of the teams knows Chinese, so they breezed through it. They actually got it wrong the first time though. Which yeah, but yeah, it only took them 2 tries. The other team was, saying a bunch of stuff, and which of course they had like subtitles on for what they were really saying, which was total nonsense. Yeah, we got that. Was there anything else to really say about it? I don't think yeah, the main thing I remember was the fact, oh wow, another one of these memorization challenges, which it just seems like they're doing so much more.
Yeah, kind of like how Survivor is obsessed with balancing challenges. and this once it gets to the individual portion, that's pretty much all they do are balancing challenges. And I mean, I guess they're good in concept, but they're not as fun to watch. They're not as good TV. So just watching someone stand very still for, a long period of time, that just doesn't make very good TV. Whereas if you're going through a big thing with a puzzle and a obstacle course, that makes for a lot better TV. I guess I see why they do it, because it's like you got 11 people. You can't possibly, I mean, you could, but it would be really difficult to build something big enough for all 11 people to do. So they save those for near the end whenever there's like 5 people left. And for now, they just do these balancing challenges where last one standing wins. And this goes on for about a month.
Oh yeah, I remember. Well, I didn't really watch too much of Survivor, but I still remember one of the final challenges in the first season was like, oh, you have to just stand there and hold your hand to this pole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have much else to really say about the episode, honestly. Sorry to be any disappointed for anyone who actually cared about our ramblings on this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess we can just call it then. Fairly short episode for us, but
yeah.
Right, everyone. We'll see you then next week for all of this. For more discussion of the stuff we've been watching, and yeah, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Tom, is that another weird golf game?
Yep. You know I can't resist the call of the links. This one's called Curse to Golf. 1 minute, you're sizing up a chip to win the Eternal Championship, and the next, you're falling deep into golf purgatory. The good news is that you can play your way back to life.
And the bad news?
You have to defeat 18 puzzle-like holes, and it's way harder than it looks.
Right up your alley.
Normally, yes, but this one's a roguelike, so when you fail, it's back to the pro shop to tee it up all over again.
Sounds fun, but frustrating.
Nailed it. Get a bad bounce? Back you go. Run out of strokes? Back you go. And the greenskeeper shuffles the holes every round, so there's really no way to get ahead.
Well, you're always up for a challenge.
Yeah, I'll keep at it. But for now, just gonna hit the range.
Practice makes perfect.
We give Curse to Golf a 9 out of 18.
Next on the tee from outer space,